Good morning, class. In our last class, we have seen the topic characteristics of mixtures. Then we have also seen states of constituent of mixtures. And the last topic that we discussed was purpose of separation of mixtures. What is the reason behind the separation of mixtures? And we have listed out 3 points. The first was one, to remove a harmful or undesirable component. The second one was to obtain a useful substance, and the third one was to obtain the pure sample of a substance. Now, today we are going to see the different principle of separation. The constituents of a mixture have their own properties. This differences in their properties forms the principle for separating them from each other. So, the mixture which have their constituents have their own properties, and this forms the basis through which we can separate the constituents. The choice of the method for separating the constituents of a mixture depends on the nature of the mixture and the properties of constituents in it. So, whatever method you choose, it depends on the nature of the mixture and also the properties of constituents in it. Say, for example, how we can carry out separation of solid-solid mixtures. Separation of solid-solid mixtures. So we have got a very common methods of separation of mixtures. The first one is hand picking, sieving, winnowing, and magnetic separation. We'll see this process. So the first figure shows that it is a hand picking of stones from rice. So at your home, when your mom cooks a food, she removes the particles which is not required in the rice. Say for example, you might sometimes get stones or some black pieces which has to be removed. Same with the pulses. So she just pick with her hand and throw it. That method we call hand picking. The second one is sieving. In sieving, separating stones from sand by a sieve. So I think you have seen at your home when you have got the construction of your home, that and when you need to do the plaster, we say, so the particles of the sand should be the particles among the sand should be removed. So that is done through this sieving method. So there will be a arrangement where in the middle we have got the thin sheets of wire where you have got the small pores through which only the sand particles can pass. The stones will remain back. That process we can call it as sieving. Then the third was winnowing, separating wheat grains from chaff by winnowing. So this is usually performed in the plain areas where there is a production of wheat grains. So to remove the outer cover of the wheat just through air, so they just move it up and down so that the dust particles or the lighter particles will move away, whereas the wheat grains remain on there. That process we call winnowing. And the last process we have got is magnetic separation. So this separation of scrap iron from a heap of waste material by using electromagnet. So if we have got the particles which have got the magnetic properties or which can attract towards the magnet, they can be removed by this method. Next we have got sublimation process. We have already in lower classes we have studied about this term once again. Sublimation means the change of a solid directly into its vapor state without passing through the liquid state is called sublimation. That means, say for example, at our home when we have got puja and all, we use camphor balls. So that camphor balls, when you burn it, it will directly convert into the gaseous form without undergoing into the liquid state. That process we call sublimation, where the solid directly converts into gaseous form without undergoing liquid state. The principle behind is to separate a mixture containing a constituent that sublimes. So a substance which undergoes sublimation we call sublimes. Example, sublimation is used in the separation of substances such as ammonium chloride, iodine, camphor, dry ice, naphthalene. All these are sublimes. So if you have got this substance as a mixture, then we can separate it by sublimation process. Next, separation of solid liquid mixtures. How we can separate solid and liquid separately? So in a solid liquid mixture, when the solid is insoluble in the liquid, the mixture can be separated by the following method. So we can carry out the following methods where we have got the solid that does not dissolve in the liquids. Example, sedimentation and decantation. We are very familiar with this term. Sedimentation means the settling down of the insoluble heavy solid particles in a solid liquid mixture at the bottom of the container is called sedimentation. Say for example, you take a muddy water, keep it for some time without moving. You'll find that after some time the mud that is present will be settled at the bottom, whereas you'll find the clear liquid at the top. The particles which has been settled at the bottom, they are called as sediment, and the clear liquid is known as supernatant liquid. This is how we can carry out the process called sedimentation. And what is sedimentation? So the solid particles that settle down in a layer at the bottom of the container are called sediment. The clear liquid above the sediment is called the supernatant liquid, as just now I have shown you in the figure. Next, we have got the decantation process. The process of pouring the clear supernatant liquid without disturbing the sediment is called decantation. So this process we have done sedimentation, where the sediment has been settled at the bottom and we have got the supernatant liquid. Now if you clearly pour this in another apparatus without moving this sediment, that process we call decantation. That means I'm talking about this process, decantation. Okay. Now today's assignment number 6. Question number 1. Name the methods of separation of the components of solid liquid mixtures. Number 2. Define sublimation process. Name few substances that can be separated by this process. And question number 3. Define sedimentation and decantation. And lastly, question number 4. Define the following terms: sediment and supernatant liquid. Complete this assignment and send it in my